Welcome, everyone, to the stage door. I'm so glad you're back. My name's Erica Angus. I'm the executive director for Theatre Collingwood. And, I didn't look to see what number of show this is, but I know that we're up around, 10. I can't believe it. And it's just wonderful to have this opportunity to talk about all things arts and culture with you. So I could not do what I do without the our Wizard of Oz, but the Wizard of Tech, Mr. Tyler Cleary. Hello, Tyler.
Hello, Erica. And wait 1 second. Is this thing on? Shirley, can you hear me?
Now, you have to watch and see if there's any messages flying in from Valerie O'Brien or Anne Rachunas saying, we can't hear Tyler. For those who weren't watching last time, we had a few minutes of not being able to hear Tyler. But luckily, we have these wonderful audience members who quickly make us aware when we make mistakes.
Yes.
How are you, Tyler?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. You know, it's getting nicer out.
The sun is shining.
Shorts and a sweater.
Gosh, that's great. Well, as we know, some people have been in shorts for a whole year.
Oh, there are some people.
Under the desk. I may be in my shorts right now, and you don't even know it.
The mystery.
I will spare those details for you. But Tyler, did you celebrate World Theatre Day?
My goodness.
Day was on Saturday, the 27th. Yay!
Yes. I mean, it's... I feel so ashamed to say it, finally finished watching Hamilton.
You finally finished?
Finally. Okay, so we went at the start of the pandemic, the last thing Victoria and I did was we went and actually seen Hamilton in Toronto. We saw it the last night and then it closed and we were like, my goodness, maybe we shouldn't have gone. But I mean, it was Hamilton, right? You had to.
Yeah.
So when it was suddenly on Disney Plus, I started and I was like, I'm just missing theater. I'm missing like what it was to see it. So I just stopped.
That could be, I can see that. That could be hard when you saw it in real life and you had all that excitement. I think you and I have had these discussions that I feel really strongly that I don't ever want to become really good at virtual performances. Because I just really want to get back to live performances. So I get it. Although I have to tell you, my son-in-law put in, through all of this COVID thing, an 85-inch screen TV. Isn't that insane? I'm not really a big TV person. And so my husband and I still have like a small TV, a cabinet and everything. And so he said he was getting this 85-inch TV, and I thought he was crazy. But I have to say, we do have some fun movie nights. Ooh. And I watched Hamilton on it with him.
Yes. Front row seat.
Yeah, for sure. But what I was thinking about World Theatre Day was how bizarre it was that it was the second World Theatre Day with no theaters open.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a happy, sad day. It was sad that theaters aren't open, but always nice to celebrate the performing arts.
I have to find the silver lining, and I'll just say, as Shakespearean as that is, it lives to that. I mean, Shakespeare had 75 months or something of no theaters running.
Yes. Did I tell you this story about what I heard was that in those days during the bubonic plague, people didn't really know what was causing it, right? But they came up with this idea that they would take oranges and put cloves in them and hold the oranges over their mouths. And somehow they thought that was going to cure them. But if you think about it, it probably did help a bit because it's kind of like the first masks, like it's kind of masking. But yes, and it is said that he wrote some of his finest work during the bubonic plague. Yes. So I mean, we've kind of chatted a bit, but I still I need to see our Theatre Collingwood News banner up, Tyler, because I do have some more Theatre Collingwood news.
Oh, excellent. We'll take it away.
Yes. So first of all, I have to tell you that as with any theater, we could not run without our volunteers. Theaters and hospitals, right? Gosh, we really rely on our wonderful volunteers. And we have a particularly wonderful volunteer that I want to make mention of today, and that's Mary Beth Sharp, who is our bookkeeper for Theatre Collingwood. But when she retired, she came to work for us as a volunteer. So she does all of our books. She goes through those terrible end of years when we have to get ready for the accountants to come in. As a nonprofit, we're always audited every year, and Mary Beth struggles through that with me, but all as a volunteer. So it is Mary Beth's birthday today, and I would like to say happy birthday to Mary Beth Sharp, who also incidentally volunteers for many organizations in the Collingwood area, and we are all lucky to have her around. And one other wonderful volunteer that we have that's on our board of directors, which I just found out, is Marie Rounding, and it is her birthday today. So happy birthday to two of my favorite women. I also just want to talk about a volunteer that we have by the name of, it's kind of volunteer day, Ginny Gilbert, who does all of our advertising acquisitions for our program. So Ginny's around town, running around, asking companies if they'd like to put an ad in our playbill. Right now, and maybe forever, our playbill is online, which is fantastic. It's a virtual playbill. I think it's better than handing it out because it can go to so many more people. And so Ginny is working on that right now, and she does a fantastic job. So thank her. We have just got a brand new platinum sponsor in at Theatre Collingwood. That means a $5,000 donation, and that is Royal LePage Locations North. So I want to thank them so much for coming on board as a platinum sponsor for Theatre Collingwood this year. It's amazing. So Tyler, I've told you about the Porchside Festival that we're going to do in June. We're so excited about this, and people don't know about it. We're going to have 8 shows on 8 porches around Collingwood. Each show will be presented 3 times to an audience of 25 socially distanced people sitting outside. It's going to be a very unique and intimate event, and we're very excited about it. And the most exciting thing for me right now is that I am actually in rehearsals right now because I'm directing one of the shows. And that is, we're doing a show, a play that's been near and dear to my heart for so many years. I've always wanted to direct it. It's called Love Letters. And it's a beautiful play that is basically the story of 2 individuals who have written love letters to each other from the time they were 3 until they grow old. And we have 2 Collingwood favorites that are performing in this show, and that is Jake MacArthur and Leslie Wards. And they are so good, I have to tell you. It is an absolute joy to be working with them, and they are going to really, I think, blow everyone away with what they're doing with this beautiful play by A.R. Gurney called Love Letters, and it will be one of our first performances on the Porchside Festival. Yay!
Woo! That's exciting.
That's our Theatre Collingwood news.
Oh my goodness, you are positively glowing, and I think that's got to be a sign of how excited you are and how excited everybody else should be. I mean, what?
Well, Tyler, I love theater, and yes. I really hate when we can't do it. Mm-hmm. So it feels so good to be back working on it. And actually, here's the interesting thing too. We're rehearsing on Zoom calls. Oh wow! So that's something new, definitely new. But we're making it work. And as I say, they have the most beautiful. Their voices are incredible, and the way they read these beautiful love letters is. I actually get goosebumps when I listen to them rehearse. So
how exciting!
Yeah, it's going to be great. As I say, it's one of 8 performances that's going to happen during the month of June. So we'll talk more about that the next time we meet.
Ooh, can't wait.
Yeah, thank you. So I think it's time to bring on our first guest. And actually, our theme tonight, I think, is dreaming big. Because tonight we've got two big dreamers. And C.S. Lewis said, "You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream." And both of our guests tonight, they absolutely dream big. So I'd like to welcome Rob Hart to our show tonight. Hello, Rob.
Hi, Erica. How are you tonight?
Good, good. Great to see you. Thanks for
And you.
joining us.
A pleasure to be here.
I feel like it's been so long since I've seen you.
It has been, Erica.
For those who don't know, I have to give a disclaimer that I do sit on a committee with Rob, and he's also a board member at Theatre Collingwood. So I get to see Rob a lot. So and it's wonderful. You've been such an incredible addition to our community.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's wonderful. So, Rob, can you tell us how you actually have been on the stage door before? And I think we both felt that as time has gone by, it was timely to have you back. So, for those who didn't see you the first time, can you tell us just how you actually came to Collingwood?
Well, I'm going back about 5 years ago. We've been coming to Collingwood since the mid '80s for recreation, as so many people have moved to Collingwood under the same scenario where they've been coming up here and all of a sudden thought, you know what, it's a great place to live. But we my wife and I, Lynn, did a lot of searching around when we decided, we were going to kind of slow our lifestyles down and look for a comfortable place to live, and it just kept coming back to Collingwood. So we actually made the plunge about 4 years ago and moved here 2 years ago. But not certainly knowing what we're getting into, because we were so familiar with coming here. So we've had the first couple of years have just been wonderful. Unfortunately, one of them's been under the COVID spell.
It's going to get better, Rob.
But it's definitely going to get better. Yeah. So we've been and as I say, we moved here to slow down, and I think I'm busier now than I was when I was working for a living. So it's
I believe
been a great couple of years.
I believe it. Well, we have a mutual friend, Tom Vincent, who sort of dragged you in. I don't think kicking and screaming, but recognized that you had a lot to offer, especially to the arts community. I know you have a history in management and in marketing, business, I should say, in marketing. You were educated. I just realized this, that you went to the Schulich.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I graduated there many years ago. Too many to talk about. But yeah, I graduated with an MBA from Schulich some time ago.
Yeah, an amazing school to have to your credit. So, and then through all of your career, you ended up at the Mississauga Living Arts Center. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it was, most of my career until the Living Arts Center has been in the for-profit section. So it was an unusual move, but somebody I had been working with before had convinced me to come over. So I told him I'd give him about 6 months because he had a problem he needed to fix. And long story short, the 6 months turned into 7 years. And it was just a real education for me, but also I really developed an appreciation for the arts and many facets of the arts, and have been a real supporter since. I mean, I grew up, Erica, really in the sports world. And
yes, but you can actually love both, right?
Yes,
it's allowed.
And I absolutely love both, but I really do have a passion for what we're trying to do in Collingwood. My initial kind of introduction to a group of people who were passionate about bringing an arts center to Collingwood it was with Tom Vincent, a mutual friend, but it started off by me saying, because he didn't know my background. And I said to Tom, I said, I find it unusual that a community like Collingwood with such a vibrant arts sector and such a variety of tremendous artists here, that we don't have a kind of a bona fide arts center. And he asked me, well, why would you say that? I said, well, I've moved up here, and I know lots of other people have moved here, but also there's been an underswell for arts here for years. Mm-hmm. And I said, I just find it surprising. And he said, as a matter of fact, we're just about to strike a committee to look at the feasibility of an arts center in Collingwood. So after he understood my background, I guess I couldn't say no.
Well,
so that's how we
Tom has a way of doing that. I wanted to read something, and I'll just read it, and then I'll give the context of it. It says, quite possibly the most vocal desire expressed by survey respondents and workshop participants was the need for certain key attractions. These attractions range from more restaurants and designer name shops to more community-related facilities, such as a second ice surface. It was, however, the idea of an arts facility that seemed to capture people's attention the most. And that came from a commission that was formed, or a committee that was formed in 2000, 20 years ago. And they created a document that's called Blueprint Collingwood, a people's vision for the town of tomorrow. It was the people's vision 20 years ago for Collingwood. And we seem to be talking about the same thing.
Well, Erica,
20 years later.
Yes, it's funny you say that, because it actually goes back to even before that. And the vision of having an arts center in Collingwood really started to evolve in the early 90s. And they actually went through a feasibility study in the early 90s, looking at a facility that had 600 to 800 seats. And the feasibility went through, and it was positive, but it just wasn't the right time for a number of reasons. And then, of course, we fast forward to the year 2000, and you just read something that came from a strategy document in 2020 to say in 2000 to say what 2020 should look like.
Right.
So then we fast forward again to 2017, really, when a number of folks in town started to talk about, again, the whole concept of an arts center. And there were artists involved, and there were people who are passionate about the arts and arts consumers. And this discussion kind of continued on and evolved and generated a fairly significant interest, to the point where it was time to strike kind of a formal committee. And CACE, which is the Collingwood Arts, Culture, and Entertainment Group, was formed in early 2019. And it really was the genesis of those 2 years of discussions previous to that. And when we formed it, it's a small group of 9 people right now that formed a vision and a mission at that stage, and of course developed the name CACE for the group. But it was kept relatively small. But as many of your viewers know, that there is a feasibility study going on right now with the town to look at the feasibility of building an arts center in town. So we believe that our group will grow significantly once we get the results of that feasibility study, and then we can look at some of the skill sets we need to help CACE drive it forward. So we expect that 9 is going to grow significantly as we move forward.
And Rob, I think you make a really important point there, because one could sort of ask, well, why is CACE a small group, and why was it not opened up to 200 people to be in this CACE group? And really, I think what has happened is it's laid some foundation as to what the timing is, what's happening in Collingwood. You know, I think CACE played a key role in getting this feasibility study done. But if we had started out with 200 or 500 people, there probably would have been a lot of meetings, lots of people talking and not much happening. So I love the way there's been sort of a foundation made where the community can branch off from that going forward. And what I think too about CACE is that there's a tremendous amount of experience and knowledge in the group. There's also, and I mean, you and I have talked about this, there's also a lot of people that have deep roots in the community. They've been here a long time, and they're not newbies like you and I.
No, I'm definitely the newbie in the group. I mean, when you've got people like Charlie Gadatis, who's been involved with music at the station, and that gets a great audience every summer that we don't have COVID, and founded the South Georgian Bay Music Foundation. And then I always like to bring up John Kirby's name, because John Kirby is, I think, the third or fourth generation, Erica, of his family who lived in the area all of that time. And John was involved with that original study done in 1990. So, I mean, he's been so passionate about it. He's been involved with it all this time. And, you know, he was a past counselor and an educator, and he's just been tremendous to give us a feeling for, you know, how history was and how it evolved. And, you know, and then Hella Sandberg, who's been doing arts, been the arts historian around here, and I think since the 50s or something.
Yeah, so, well, and I can tell you about Theatre Collingwood. She was there. She was actually involved with Theatre Collingwood before Theatre Collingwood was Theatre Collingwood, because it used to be the Laughing Waters Festival, and it evolved into being Theatre Collingwood. And Hella was the costume designer and makeup artist, and now, as you say, is the historian of the arts, has done so much for that. She's done a complete history of Theatre Collingwood, which we actually have in binders in our office. So yeah, there's a lot of
the roots are deep. There's no question. I mean, as you say, you and I are kind of the newbies, but the majority of the group's been around for quite some time. And I also want to emphasize that, you know, we're passionate about bringing this facility to Collingwood, but there's nobody in the group that has any vested interest in building it. We're just passionate about believing that you know, here we are, the third time having a run at this, and we believe the time is right now. It is a different time than it was in the 90s and in 2000, and the time is right. So we kind of think, you know, third time's a charm kind of thing. That maybe this is the right time.
And you know, Rob, probably if anyone has a vested interest, and it's not that I would make any financial rewards from it, but being involved with Theatre Collingwood, you know, the saddest thing to me is that Theatre Collingwood is 36, going to 37 years old this year, and does not have a home. And I think it's pretty amazing what we managed to do without having a home. But gosh, what we could do if there actually was a facility. And I think it's important to note that because of having an established theater company in town, plus all the other artists, but we have a lot of rentals we could do there, like as Theatre Collingwood, you know. So that's an important thing. We also know that there's many artists. I know the Collingwood Circus Club. It breaks my heart that sometimes they're doing shows over in Barrie because they don't have the right infrastructure here. So that's.
Yeah, I just think that kind of tells stories about just the lack of facilities. And let me talk a little bit about kind of our vision of the center, because I think it's important that people get an understanding of what our beliefs are and what kind of the vision was for the
As
center.
CACE, yeah.
Yes, as CASE, absolutely. Because I've got to say, Erica, that the job that Theatre Collingwood has done is it's incredible that to be able to accomplish what Theatre Collingwood's accomplished without a home is just amazing. But the fact you don't have a home, that does say a lot.
Yeah.
Right, in terms of what's around. So the center itself, the way we look at the vision of building an arts, and we call it an arts, culture, and entertainment center, and I'll get at that in a minute. But we believe that it should have something for everybody, and everybody from the local arts groups to bringing in world-class, high-profile artists. I think the residents of Collingwood deserve that whole range and that whole spectrum of arts, culture, and entertainment that is available to us. There's no question. But building the center to us is so important that it's tremendously flexible, because you want to build in things like dance studios and rehearsal spaces, potential gallery. There's so much visual arts that's created in the community in Collingwood and in the surrounding area that it's so important that we get a space that people can enjoy it, and it's so challenging because there isn't that that one place to go where you can enjoy the incredible art that's created here in Collingwood and in the region.
Rob, I was just going to say that, that kind of brings me to the point that, obviously sometimes people say, well, there are facilities in town, and there are spaces in town. We have the Simcoe Street Theatre, we have the Gaiety Theatre, and I think it's important to note that they both serve really important value in the community as well, for various reasons, for specific reasons. And I remember way back when I was working on a project to have a theater built in Barrie, when I was working in Barrie. And one of the questions came up, well, it's not a very big theater. What happens when there's not enough times to book and it's overused? And the director of culture said, that's the most wonderful problem you can have. Then you build another one. So I think that the three facilities could actually play a key role in each other's success.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're of the belief, as you know, in CACE, that they can complement each other. And by complementing each other, they can actually be more successful than they are now. When if you coordinate programming properly and et cetera, it's just going to open up more opportunities for the current facilities that are in place, along with what we're trying to accomplish by building the theater or building the arts center. I think the other thing that's important too about the center is that it has to be so flexible that we can welcome kind of non-arts folks into the community, into the facility too. Because if you get a great balance that way, then it helps pay for the center on an ongoing basis. Not necessarily the capital funding up front, but as time goes on, you have to be able to fund it on an annual basis.
Right. So just so I'm understanding you right. Yeah. So you're talking about there could be rentals of like Probus clubs, or there could be, I know the Lifelong Learning has been looking for more space. That's what these groups that are growing and need more facilities seem to always be short of facilities. So there's so many that could be. Yeah. Right.
I mean, the Cinema Club has kind of looked at it and said, that would be kind of a fantastic venue to utilize for certain things, or TED Talks, or there's so many organizations out there that are that could utilize a facility like that. And the other thing I think is important that is, there's always discussion around size and kind of scale of how big a facility should be. And we've been advocating for a 600 seat theater as the kind of the focal point in the Arts Center. But that 600 seat theater would be purpose built so that it could actually be scaled down to something smaller than that. If it was built, for example, where you had an orchestra level and you had a balcony, and it was built the right way, you could actually screen off the balcony and make it a 300 or 350 seat or whatever theater, still be a very intimate experience, and the sound and the lighting would be accommodated accordingly. So that gives you the opportunity to have the big show, but also scale it down to something that just allows for such versatility of use.
Yeah, I think that's a really key point, Rob. It's important to have that flexibility, and it speaks to the variety of programming that could happen in that space.
Very much so.
Yeah,
very much
absolutely.
So. But again, so important to have a number of aspects to the Arts Center. So it's multifaceted. It's flexible because then it can accommodate a variety of users and have the lights on every night or every day. And that way it could be tremendously successful. One of the challenges that a lot of towns make is they build a smaller facility and it's a dedicated theater only. And it's very difficult to make it self-sustaining without having outside funds because it just doesn't have the scale to be able to sustain itself.
Right.
And that's kind of one of the key points.
So you want people to be coming into this facility for a variety of reasons, and that there's a flow of people coming through, including, one thing that's near and dear to my heart is a space for education. And there are even possibilities of partnering with colleges and bringing that sort of program in. But, even at Theatre Collingwood, we run our drama camps, and space can be a real problem. So it would be wonderful. And I could see it where various forms of art could have education components to it in this space. So we keep this flow of people going through.
Yeah, and as you know, part of the discussion we've been having is to make sure that the flexibility exists. So we could partner with the education system and bring programming in that's consistent with what the education system needs. But on top of that, as you said, running courses and camps and classes for all aspects of the arts, you would have the flexibility to do that.
Yeah. And, a long time ago, someone said something to me, and I've used it many times, but I have to admit it wasn't created by me. And that is, the importance. There's a reason that car dealerships place themselves close to each other, and other, furniture stores place themselves close to each other, or whatever. You want to have people have a great experience at all of our arts facilities and galleries and what have you. We want to work together so that when people go out and have an arts experience, they don't go home and say, I don't ever want to experience that again. That was too fun. I'll never do it again. No, you want them to go and really have a wonderful time. You want them to have a wonderful time in all of the various arts facilities or forms of arts, and then encourage them to want more. And that's how we grow arts and culture. It really is. And it actually is something interesting. It lends itself to something interesting that's going on right now. And that is the Institute at South Georgian Bay and their development of a regional arts network. Which is the same concept that, we're far better when we're working together and nurturing each other and nurturing multiple spaces as well. And I think also, Rob, something that's come up from time to time is about location. And one of the greatest things we can prove with this, and has been proven elsewhere, is the economic impact that the arts has on a downtown core. People who go to arts events dine in the restaurants, shop in the shops, and stay in the hotels. And so, maybe you could speak a little bit in terms of location.
Sure. Yeah. And just adding to that, I mean, there's data everywhere, Erica, as you know, published by the governments to indicate the economic impact of arts on downtown cores and helping actually regenerate downtown cores in a lot of particular cases. But let me talk about location a little bit, because I think at the same time we can talk about decision making.
Yeah.
CACE has always advocated for an arts center like this to be somewhere in the downtown core. We believe that when it's in the downtown core, it does all the things you talked about, Erica. The restaurants are available, the stores are available. There's accommodations that are relatively accessible to the core, and we have such a beautiful downtown that an arts center built the right way, it's just going to add to that, because when people come to the area, they see Collingwood as the focal point because of that downtown core we have.
Yeah.
And we take advantage of that. Anyway, so location, we would absolutely prefer it to be in the downtown core for all of the reasons of supporting the rest of the economy, and actually giving the audiences a complete experience.
Yeah.
Right? Because the downtown can be part of that experience going to an arts event. But we don't make the decision. And I think it's important that folks know that we're pushing forward a vision that we believe can be successful in Collingwood. There's a feasibility study out that has been put out through the town. They've selected Nordicity as the consulting firm, and they're going through a feasibility study now that's probably going to be finished. I'm going to say we're going to get something probably in May in terms of what that feasibility study says. Now, the decision making in terms of what it would look like, what's in it, et cetera, those things are down the road, and there's many people and many organizations who would be involved in that process.
Yes.
And in terms of where it is, again, we don't make that decision. We're promoting a downtown position or location. We certainly hope that that's where an arts center would be built, because that's what really does make sense. But that decision will be made based on land availability, the size of the footprint versus what you would need to build, et cetera. So other than supporting and promoting a downtown location, we don't really have much to say in the decision-making process, because it is a municipal decision, right, in terms of what you do and where you go.
Sure. And, I think it's important to note that everyone's opinion is important and valued, and that's why there's just been the survey done, and that's very important to CACE. So, Rob, unfortunately, I wish we had 2 hours to talk about CACE and about the future of the Arts Centre, because we certainly could, and I love talking about it. But I just want to thank you and everyone that is on CACE and everyone who wants to participate with CACE, because it's these folks that are really, pushing to see this done. And I know that Barbara Wider is looking down on us with a big smile on her face, because Barbara had such a vision for an arts center in Collingwood. And, sometimes people have said to me, oh, why didn't Barbara just pay for it herself and build a theater? Well, Barbara knew that it needed to be something loved and wanted by the community, and not just Barbara. So, but we're gonna try to make that dream come true. So I thank you very much for dreaming big and for joining us tonight, Rob. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you. And just one note. It's very important that everybody's voice gets heard in this process. So don't be afraid to speak up, to contact us, to talk to the town who's involved. Make sure that your voice is heard. It's important because there needs to be support, significant support from the community and from the municipality for this to move, for any version of this to move forward, because funding is critical, and funding comes from people who are passionate about what they're trying to do, and that passion has to come from the community and the municipality.
And Rob, the website for CACE is?
It is collingwoodarts.com.
Terrific.
And you can certainly go on there and just register your support. All it's saying is we support what you're trying to do. It's as simple as that.
It's a non-financial support at this point.
Yeah, non-financial support, and your email will not be used for anything. I think in the whole last 2 years, we've sent out probably 4 messages just to update people, and we like to keep it at that because we know you certainly get inundated with enough information now, and we'll just pass on the key points.
Right. Thank you, Rob Hart.
Great.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Erica. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Tyler, boy, oh boy, lots of exciting things going on. And Tyler, now we're going to bring on another big dreamer, and coincidentally, here we are talking about an arts center and artists and places for wonderful voices to happen. And so I'd like to welcome Laura Conning to the stage door. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Erica. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's great to see you. It's so great to see you. You have, I don't know, there must not be enough hours in the day to do all the things that you do. Now, I know that this little thing we call a pandemic has probably put a little bit of a wrench into some things. Yeah. But, I know you're a writer, you're a blogger, you're a content creator and content manager, and you have parents who have a wonderful store in downtown Collingwood, Clarkson's, my favorite, that you're also at, and you are a singer and performer.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I think that a lot of artists especially wear many hats. So I work at Clarkson's like 4 days a week, and then I stay involved in the music scene another, let's say 2 days of the week, and then I have a day to catch up on laundry and sleep and whatever. But I like to be productive. I don't know if it's a stubbornness thing, but I do. So yeah, I write a lot for Route 26 and, talk about what's going on in the music scene in Collingwood and then the whole like Southern Georgian Bay area.
Right. So Route 26 is your blog and your website. And it's fantastic. And thank you so much for doing that, because you've really created a way to, again, as we were speaking about, unite artists.
Thank you. Yeah, I started it, I think about 5 years ago now, and have just slowly been sort of chipping away at it. But I started it out of sort of a necessity for one central space to talk about what's going on in the local music scene. Right. Because when I moved here, I was like, there's so many talented artists. There's really something in the water around Georgian Bay. And, if you're going out at night, I was finding I was, looking at the different restaurants to see if they had some live music going on, looking at the theaters to see what was happening, and really wanting like one space where there was an events calendar and you sort of got to know about the local music scene.
So you did it. You just didn't wait for anyone else. You just did it. Such a fantastic idea. And I agree with you 100% that, South Georgian Bay is just packed with talent. It's incredible.
It's amazing. It's really unique, and I've talked to a lot of people about it, and I feel like it's, we're far enough away from Toronto that we've got our own magical little scene going on here, and it's separate in that way, but we're still close enough to a major city like Toronto or Barrie, for that matter, that, people can pick up shows in the city and come home the same night if they need to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's so true. I even find that when I'm bringing various actors in or whatever, it's close enough. But then they love to get to this little gem, this little hidden gem. It's fantastic. Now, before we speak anymore, what I would like to do is you have been working on a new song. Yeah. And we're going to listen to you sing that song. So we're going to watch your video.
Sounds good. A little disclaimer. Yeah. So we're working on some new music. Myself and my partner, actually, we have a duo called Honeymoon Phase, and we're going to be recording some of our stuff soon, which is very exciting. This song, I recorded it for you the other day, and it's like just starting to come together. So I was recording it, and in the background you hear like Nelson doing the dishes, and our dog Cleo's like running around and stuff. So it's a very
and that's what I love about it. That's terrific. So Tyler, let's have a listen.
Everything is better with you. Better with you, better with you. Everything is better with you. Better with you, better with you. You come calling, I will answer. Show me everything I'm after. Rose tint my world, light my candle. If the earth shakes, nothing that we couldn't handle. I'm still falling in love. Everything is better with you. Better with you. Better with you. Everything is better with you. Better with you. Better with you. Move my mountains, talk me through it, listen, trust me, you can do this. Lay back your arms, close my eyes now, make my earth shake. You and me, we're heaven bound. I'm still falling in love. Everything is better with you. Better with you. Better with you. Everything is better with you. Better with you. Better with you. Shine on me, light my love. Hold me, catch me falling deep. Shine on me, light my love. Hold me, catch me falling deep. Better with you, better with you.
Laura, I think everything is better with you.
Thank you.
That is so beautiful. And I know that you and Nelson actually do perform for people. Like Honeymoon Phase is a performance group that also does weddings and things like that, right?
Yes, we
Yeah.
do. Yeah. Yeah, we do. So it was sort of a fitting name for us as a couple. And, we do sort of this jazz, loungy, sort of that sort of lovey-dovey atmosphere. So we
Yeah.
do a lot of like cocktail hours and, we played our first socially distanced wedding last September, and that was exciting.
Well, I think everybody that's sitting at home right now thinking about this great wedding they're going to have once we come out of this needs to contact you, because you guys are amazing. And look at that gorgeous picture of the two of you.
Yeah. So, well, we're engaged and we're planning to get married in September of this year. Somehow, some way we'll get married. So that's one of our photos from our engagement shoot, and it was really nice because we were like, this can double as some marketing material for honeymoon phase.
Absolutely. And hey, you just wrote off your expense of doing your
there you go.
Doing your engagement picture. That's
exactly.
That's great. Laura, you have formal training. You have a master's in popular music and culture. You've got a BA in popular music and music studies and film studies. And your husband you play the guitar and vocals. He plays
saxophone and clarinet. Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's lovely. Mm-hmm.
You have to get married. It's just your perfect match.
Yeah. It's really fun. And he has a background in jazz training from Humber College. So it's really interesting songwriting together because I'm more of the pop and rock music history background.
Yeah.
Singer, songwriter, Joni Mitchell, Lou Reed, all that stuff is my bag. And then his world is we've got Miles Davis and John Coltrane on the wall. So I'll write something and he'll be like, that's great. Let's change this chord to like I don't know, sus4. I don't even know, but it'll all of a sudden just make it really gel together and play with the dynamics that way.
It works. That's amazing. That's amazing. And, so when you were growing up, like, was there a lot of music in your household, or your parents musicians?
Yeah. My dad is a musician. And a really good writer, of like, he wrote a book and short stories and poetry. And so he's kind of into writing in that sense. And he plays guitar and sings. And my Uncle Rob, who just moved to town, a year and a half ago, something like that. He's a great musician as well. So a lot of my young life was growing up playing with them and like sitting around the bonfire, learning tunes, and, got into music lessons pretty early and just always wanted to do it.
That's amazing. I think there's even a potential of a second band there with the whole thing. There's a Partridge
family jam
thing. Yeah. Going on.
It was fun. At Christmas, there was a Christmas market in downtown Collingwood. Yeah. And so the four of us, myself, my dad, my uncle, and Nelson, sat in like the window area of Clarkson's, and we had a speaker outside. So we were all just like jamming Christmas carols and stuff. And it was really fun. So yeah, I'd be down to do a lot more of that.
I want to be in your bubble.
Yeah, I know. It's a good bubble.
I think it's a really, really good bubble. That's amazing. I just wanted to go back to what we were speaking about Route 26, because one of the things that when I was reading about Route 26, and I knew about it before, but I like the idea, particularly like the idea of it, connecting musicians. So if they're looking for someone to complement their style or whatever, maybe they're looking to go and listen to someone else, but it may be someone else they want to work with. I love that idea. And, but then the flip side of that is that it is for, visitors coming to the area that want to know what's happening, coming to Collingwood on Saturday, and I want to know what's happening. I'm talking about normal times, obviously, but so it plays a great dual purpose there, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like I get a lot of people reaching out saying, I'm new to Collingwood and I'm a musician, or I dabble in it and I'd like to get connected somehow. So in normal times there are open mics for those sorts of things. But we actually recently we there's a local songwriters club online, all through Slack. So I've been connecting people there, which is really fun because we just, you just upload what you're working on and comment on it there. And then just keeping people in touch with what's going on through the website. What's been interesting now is because people aren't playing shows and they aren't touring, is a lot of people are sitting at home writing and working on new material, like myself, and recording new things. So I think, in the last couple of weeks, I've had four people reach out saying like, here's an EP that we're coming out with, or an album or a single, and wanting to work on it. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, actually. COVID has, well, I think for some artists have found it hard to be creative. There's been periods of the pandemic where they've found it hard to be creative. But in true artist form, I think we've all, I'm not really an artist, I'm an arts administrator, but I think we've always learned we've always had to pivot. We've always had to work with small amounts of money and turn them into big amounts of money. And so it's almost like artists have a background training for how to survive this in some ways, in some ways. And I love that you've been able to connect with other artists online. That's incredible. There's a group that actually we're going to bring in for the Porchside Festival. That is a husband and wife as well. They're from Ottawa, and they're multi-award winning and have had a lot of success and had a lot of shows booked, 300, and they were canceled.
Yeah.
And they were able to try to figure out how to make a studio in their house. And, I had this conversation with them about making a studio in their house, and then turning around, and they could no longer have the band, but just have the two of them and try to do shows that way. And I think it just speaks to the ingenuity maybe of the artist. It's incredible.
Yeah, I agree. I really strongly believe that art is a reflection of society and what's going on in the world. So at a time, where the world is going through something so powerful, people have to express themselves in some way, whether that's baking bread or organizing your bookshelves or
so that they're color coded. If anyone hasn't
we were talking about
realize that the beautiful color coded bookshelves.
But you have to process in some way, and for artists, this is a way to vent and get something out into the world. And so, by any means necessary. And we're so lucky to have this happen at a time where this technology is available to us, where we can continue to do shows that don't have the same, they'll never have the same aura as being in the physical space of the art, but to just keep people connected and keep sharing what we have to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And to help tackle that feeling of isolation that some people have. And, Laura, I thank you so much for doing that, because I really think if we all stop and think about it, it's the artists and the art forms that have enabled us to survive these times. That ability, sometimes people will say, I'm not an arts person, but I challenge everyone. I think everyone is an arts person. It's the music we listen to, it's the architecture we look at, it's the film, it's the Netflix binging we're doing. It's all of that. All of it took artists. And I, for one, and I know, I think the world is appreciative of what what artists have done for us and especially to help us through this. So Laura, thank you so much for your millions of different creative ways. You are a superstar, a big dreamer. And actually, question for you. So how do you think this is all going to play out? Do you think we're going to be doing some performances outside in the summer? Or what do you think, Laura?
I do. I am optimistic about that. I think that we'll make it work. I love your porch side series idea. That's fantastic. Like, I think those innovative, more intimate shows, maybe with a digital element to them, like a live stream at the same time, are going to be a big thing for a while. And they can be really, really cool. So yeah, we'll make it work. And, you know, when the gates open and most of us are vaccinated and everything is hunky-dory again, I think there's a hunger for a crowded bar or a fully packed theater, you know, like we're just waiting.
Laura, we are going to experience the roaring 20s like it never was experienced before. So absolutely. And I'm there with you. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Laura, for joining us on the Stage Door. It was a joy to have you here tonight.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. That was fun.
My pleasure. So Tyler, I can't believe that hour went so fast. And what wonderful big dreamers we had on here tonight.
Huge dreamers, big dreams. I mean, if you're going to dream big, right?
Absolutely. And I feel really inspired by it all. So, Tyler, I would like to say, first of all, thank you very much to you, my friend, who, of course, you're my partner in crime here on this show. I'd like to thank Rob Hart and Laura Conning for joining us tonight. And special thanks to our, every time we do a Stage Door show, we have a special sponsor that we like to highlight. And tonight it is Royal LePage Locations North. And I just love that little ad there because it's the beautiful Jane and Lorraine team who are so fabulous and such great supporters of our community. So thank you so much to them. And tomorrow, be careful, it's April 1st, it's April Fool's Day, so everybody watch out in the morning.
It's like Christmas for some of us.
What did you say?
I said it's like Christmas for some of us.
I bet it is, Tyler. I bet it is for you, so I'll be waiting to hear what you did. And I also want to just mention that our next Stage Door will be Wednesday, April the 28th, and we look forward to seeing everyone then. So thank you so much, folks. Stay healthy, stay safe, enjoy the arts, and dream big.